I'll call the meeting to order. We do not have the minutes to the previous meeting, so we're gonna have to forego that until next time. We have some additions and deletions to the original agenda. Correspondence is in section 7A, which is a message to the highway crew. Letter from rescue is in 9B. Law enforcement contract 8C. ARPA funds 8A or 8E. FEMA test is, I'm just going to give it on the chair's report. And we have an oil contract from NITO to cover the town hall and the fire department that needs to be signed. And we can discuss that in new business. Okay. No members of the public. Warrants, go ahead.
Make the motion to pay the warrants, starting with number 1, payroll, the amount of $12,992.89. Number 2, payroll tax, the amount of $5,430.60. Number 3, the general fund, in the amount of $7,558.46. Number 4, highway fund, amount of $1,204.06. Number 5, the equipment fund, in the amount of $2,113.21. Number 6, general fund for the flood, or hashtag the flood, $27,165 for a total of $56,464.22.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion about any of these on the warrants? Any clarification? Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And no opposed, so we'll move on. Okay, Steve, I'm just gonna bump you quick for back the treasurer, so we just get that out of the way. In the checking account, or in the municipal investment funds is $845,324.67, and in the checking account, $30,000. Okay, go ahead, Steve.
My report is going to be based on the weather events of July 29th, where Townshend had 18 roads that suffered severe damage. 5 of those roads were completely closed for a period of time. The highway department was able to get 3 of those opened up Friday morning. We did have to contract 2 roads out to be repaired. That was Gale Road, which was completely washed out and closed, which is a dead-end road, so residents were blocked in. And Back Windham Road at Robert de Brenier's was closed and impassable. I hired Dale Clerk to come in and fix Gale Road first, and then open up Back Windham Road. Both of those were done by 9 o'clock Saturday morning. The highway department has been bouncing around, fixing roads based on safety concerns. Some of the roads we have in town are narrow, and with the loss of as much as 6 feet of road surface, the roads were very, very narrow, with as much as a 4-foot drop off, and residents were pretty nervous about passing through. So we've been addressing them on a road-by-road basis based on safety. There is one more section of road that will be farmed out. It is already put out to bid. The bids are due by the end of the week, and that's to repair a retaining wall on Simpson Brook. But I'd like to bring up, if the board would consider having a discussion on securing the line of credit. I feel that by the end of the first quarter of this fiscal year, we're going to be cash poor. We do have our first quarter tax payment due at the end of this month. 20 days after that, we have a school payment. The V-Trans toured Townshend on Sunday, July 31st, and then Pickering got together with me on Monday and said that we certainly qualified for state funding, not knowing what was going to happen with FEMA yet, but to put East Hill out to bid, because that had the most damage on it. We did put it out to bid. 2 contractors bid on it. The lowest bid was Dale Clark at $110,000. He's going to begin work by Thursday of this week. He estimates the job to take 2.5 weeks. So we're going to have a $100,000 bill to pay in 3 to 4 weeks. I'm going to have paving, $100,000 worth of paving on Windham Hill, which is going to happen by the end of September. I have $40,000 in gravel crushing that started today. So we have this big outlay of cash in the first quarter, and I think we're going to be dangerously low. And I would suggest securing the line of credit for about $300,000. If we don't need it, we won't use it, but at least it'll be there in case we do. Now, I have, since last Monday, have purchased $16,000 worth of road builder from Sir Sassimo. So we are not buying materials. And the repairs that we're making right now are bringing roads back to full width with 5-inch road builder. Once all the roads are open full width, they then have to be covered with gravel. And that gravel will be purchased. It'll be trucked to the job specific roads by Sir Sassimo. Those arrangements have been made already for the end of the month to start. So there's still going to be additional costs. I can come up with a number of how much I think we're going to spend in gravel, but Dale's 110. He's already spent 7 on the Gale Road and Back Windham project. So I think we're going to be around 2 to 225 by the time it's all said and done.
With Dale on East Hill, is that 110 with the material included?
Yes.
Has the town taken a line of credit before, I'm assuming?
Well, they borrowed money during Irene. It was a lot of money. I don't know the exact amount, but I think it was close to $1 million. Rob, do you remember?
No.
And did they tap into that at all?
Yes.
Yes.
They had to. There wasn't enough. There wasn't even enough on the way we used to keep books back then to cover it fully.
So, like I said, Mark Pickering said we do qualify for state funding if FEMA does not come in, and that's at 75% of the costs. So, my job primarily for the last week and a half has been record keeping, photographing everything, all the measurements, daily track of how much time for each piece of equipment, because that's all a cost. An hourly rate for the grader, for each truck, etc. So it's all the record keeping. So if FEMA gets involved, they're a little bit harder to work with than the state is. And I don't know if you've heard anything on FEMA yet.
Yeah,
But-
it's going to be part of my update.
Okay, so all the homework has to be maintained on a daily basis so we don't miss anything.
Okay, any other questions for Steve?
How long does FEMA take to?
It depends. FEMA is, of course, a government entity that they have a process that they follow. They follow it religiously, and it could be 6 months, it could be a year, it could be 2 years. It depends on a lot of things. They are scheduled to come into this area sometime this next week, I think it is. And we may or may not get asked to go through their process because damage in the other places only has to hit $1 million to be able to go for a federal disaster declaration. And that all that material that's collected by the FEMA inspectors will go towards, the governor asking for the declaration. And then once he makes the declaration, it'll shift FEMA's funding into gear and whatever else they're gonna do for us. But as far as payment goes, I mean, it could be a couple of years.
Didn't we just finish up a year or two ago with East Hill from Irene?
I think so.
I think so.
Yeah.
So that tells you that it took 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. It's
And the
not-
town needs money before that.
Correct. Just to cover our expenses, our costs, our liabilities. I don't know what the school payment's gonna be this year. Last year, we were almost $670,000 a quarter. So so.
I haven't seen anything yet about that. If there's no other questions, I guess I'd entertain a motion to direct the treasurer to obtain a line of credit from the most financially advantageous bank that we do business with to cover the costs of this emergency, this disaster.
So moved.
So moved, okay. It's been moved, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any other questions about this? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No opposed? Okay, we're good. Okay, anything else, Steve?
No, I think that's it.
The other thing I wanted to tell you about the treasurer's report was the tax bills went out on time. I've heard that some people's taxes went down instead of up, so that's always encouraging because of the tax rate that we set a couple of weeks ago. Just so everybody is aware, one of our employees, Arnold, who retired 3 weeks ago, has passed away. Sympathies have been sent to his family by the highway department guys who we work with the most of the time. FEMA is going to do this is a great time for this, is going to be doing a national test at 2:20 tomorrow afternoon. And what that's going to amount to is every radio station, television station, cell phone, anything connected to electronic media at 2:20 tomorrow afternoon is going to start buzzing. Squawking. Nationally, everywhere, yeah. So hopefully whoever's pushing the button has put the right message out so you don't have like a nuclear air raid warning like the last time they tried to do something like this in Hawaii. But it's to test the emergency response system, and it's usually done once a year. I don't know if they've done it in the last 4 years. As I said, FEMA is supposed to be here, and in your packets, starting at 6D, that's what I labeled at the top of it, is just a rundown of the alert system, and then there's another one in there for the, I think there's another one in there for the process. If I didn't put it in, I will get it to you. But it's an outline of the process of how all this works with the state and FEMA to get damage recovery. I don't see it off the top of my head, but I'll make a note to get that out to you. I thought I put it in the packages. All right. Okay, messages, the highway department. I've got a couple of things here that I think it's important for you all and the general public to know. On the dike that this all took place, there was obviously dramatic storm, and it didn't affect us until about 10:30 at night. And then we got hit with about, well, some say 3.5, some say 5.5 inches of rain in a 2-hour period with already saturated conditions. The highway department came out, what would you say, around 10:30, 11 o'clock?
9:30.
Not, you were out at 9:30, okay. Highway was out at 9:30, fire department was out somewhere around 10, 9:30, 10, and they worked through until the next day after doing a full shift that day to get these roads taken care of. And I wrote the following thing that was posted on the fire department social media. I sent it to everybody on the email list for town employees, but I think it's important that everyone who watches this to know how much of an effort that these guys all put in. So I'll read it to you. I cannot emphasize enough how much I appreciate the long hours and hard work that the Townshend Highway Department, as well as our contract partner Dale Clark, who within 36 hours of the July 27th flooding event put the majority of the roads, you all right?
Thanks, Phil.
put the majority of the roads back in shape and passable. In one case, restoring accessibility to a neighborhood in which families were cut off due to the road totally being destroyed. Thank you, Steve, Bill, Robbie, Jeremy, and Dale. Excellent work. Townsend Volunteer Fire Department members out at the very beginning of the event, helping people in an apartment building escape rising water, doing road inspections and hazardous response operations in the event of further problems, helping the voluntary evacuation and coordinating that response. Thank you, Assistant Chief Brian Schmidt, as well as your crew, Charlie, Irvin, Tim, Chris, Colin, Alex, and Delano. All of the crew that worked long hours during the initial response to protect life safety in our town. Your efforts are very much appreciated. So that went out the next day. There have been a couple of messages that have come into the highway department. This one's rather interesting. I'll read this one first. This one was from Townsend resident. Hi, Steve. I made arrangements with Deb at the Harmonyville store to buy lunch for your crew. We are truly blessed to have such a great crew, especially in tough conditions like all of this rain. Sandwiches and chips, drinkable, and drinks, said Linda. All right, and then we got a card from Susan. Is it Susan Hunt?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. She said, "Thank you all so much for doing such a great job in fixing Simpson Brook Road after the flooding. I was amazed at how great it looked after work, after hours. I think she says
After you worked on it on
after you
Thursday.
worked on it on Thursday. Thank you. Couldn't figure out what she was saying. Okay. So I will say, from my perspective, and I haven't been here as long as either one of these two, but I think that all the work that Steve and his people have done for the last 2.5 years has prevented something like Irene from happening to us here, because we certainly had all the conditions. That much rain in 2 hours, there's no place for it to go. We have roads in town that have been, the ditching's been done, the culverts have been put in and fixed that suffered literally no damage. And then we've got places that were fixed quite a while ago and got damaged. So I think that Steve and his crew deserve a credit for a job well done. That's what I have on that. Okay, listers. In the package, there is a 2-page document. It says Form PBR 46261 or 4261E. And what this is when there's this mistake made in the tax rate or a problem with the actual taxes. We have to sign off on it, and apparently the computer, all of this stuff is fed into a computer system that actually gives you the answer. And from what Helen has told me, this, the computer error is known about. They're in the works of fixing it, but it changed the taxes owed by Vermont Transco. So we'll have a document to sign off on about this. Have we done the motion and voted on something like this in the past?
Yes.
We have, okay. All right, so I would entertain a motion to accept the lister's document and sign off on the correction from Transco. So we
Second.
moved and seconded. Do we have any discussion about this?
Vermont Trans pays $18 million in taxes?
No, assessed value.
Assessed
That's
value.
assessed value.
Yeah. The difference, what the difference in what they owed to what they paid is $156,700. So, yeah, it shocked me too, but that's what it is. Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 5-0. Okay, so, well, before you leave, all this garbage in front of me needs to be signed, so. Next thing. Okay, we did errors and omissions. Ally, you've been working on the Townsend Dam thing. Go right ahead.
Sure is a damn thing. So I wrote this letter and I would like you guys to read it. Do you want me to read it out loud? I don't know if it's relevant, but.
I think we've read it. Has everybody read it?
I read it.
It's going to the congressional delegation, Leahy, Sanders, Congressman Welch, Windham County, Senators Blant, White, Brian Ames of Putney, who's our local commissioner on the topic. So the goal is to just get a more just, fair tax rate for the dam property. And after receiving information from the Department of Interior, it's very clear that they have sort of an arbitrary system that they've assessed the dam with, and the fact that they're paying $2,000 a year in taxes is just kind of, I think it's just absurd. So I'm hoping we can figure this out before too long. Yeah, and basically the letter just states that the acreage has actually gone up another 110 acres with a small tax adjustment. It's interesting. So I think having it reassessed and talking with just the way that we assess every other property with the listers, and I think that's the way to go about it. So I'd like to attach the lister's assessment to this as well before I send it. So this is just.
You've gotten a lister's assessment?
No, but I've talked to them
Okay.
about it, so hopefully they're working on it. But
Any questions for Allison about this? Any
Don't give up.
suggestions or
Yeah.
comments?
still working on it, moving forward. It's good to get a sense of how many folks have really tried to work on this. 'Cause it's been an ongoing conversation for years, so hopefully this is the right time. And the fact that we just had a major disaster is really great leverage, even though it's a terrible thing that happened. It might be a really good time for this to even go through in general, so
Well,
hopefully we'll get
Is there
some money for
any
the
estimate of what they would owe if they actually paid the true tax rate for that amount of land?
I don't know exactly the number, but if we're assessing it just like every other property in town, then it's gonna be a lot.
well, the listers will be able to tell you what it would be if it was assessed properly.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm in favor of letting her sign the letter and making the adjustments that I asked her to change the adjustments of the number from 144 million cubic feet down to 85. But I'm in support of her going forward with it. Any reason? Okay. Why don't you get that change? I have a stationery, letterhead stationery that I can email you a
Oh, great.
copy of.
Perfect.
Put it on that and just make a copy for the next board and then report it out, that it was sent.
Okay,
That's all.
sounds good.
Okay, all right. Any other questions?
I don't.
All right, law enforcement contract.
One
Go ahead.
question, does that need to be put into a motion in order for it to go through the proper avenues?
I wouldn't think so. I mean, she's been doing the work on it, and we support it.
I put something for us to sign that
Yeah.
at the end, we can sign it. I mean, if that's even important, I just, anybody could send this, but having it be from the whole select board would be really even more supportive,
Well,
But-
what does everybody think? Do you think
Yeah.
we should do a motion and sign off on it?
Sure.
And wait until the next meeting to do it? Okay.
Okay.
Entertain a motion to accept the letter that Allison has written on behalf of the board for the Townsend Dam project.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Cool.
And so go ahead. Law enforcement contract. I left a message with the sheriff, just have him write up a proposal to do law enforcement in town. That was pretty close to 4 weeks ago, and I haven't heard anything. So I think we need to move forward and get a contract signed. Right now, we have no coverage except for response coverage. So there's no traffic enforcement being done, nothing like that. Thoughts?
Who did you try to contact 4 weeks ago? Sheriff?
Yep.
Well, I'm in favor of going with the Vermont State Police.
All right, motion? Okay, have a motion to
Second.
enter a contract
For
for
$20,000?
$20,000. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No,
Is that no, you're opposed?
I'm opposed.
Okay, all right,
I'm
And-
abstaining.
abstaining, so. All right, well, it carries, so, let's see, 3, 1, and 1, okay. Put it in the right spot so I can find it again.
That's like 4 hours a week? Is that what they
Yeah,
said?
it's not a lot, not a lot.
Because it's always on overtime, so you're paying a time and a half rate, so it eats up the 20 grand quicker.
Yeah, really
than
quick.
straight
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, there is a lot of discussion about law enforcement in the state.
Mm-hmm.
One, there's a huge,
There's not a
need
lot of
for
people, yeah.
Yeah, state police, last I heard, was down 37 troopers.
Mhm.
Brattleboro just reported out that they're down 16. So, I mean, that's a lot of people.
Do you know if that was a speed strip by Taft Meadow, like last week or 2 weeks ago? There was like a wire across the road.
No, I think it's,
Yes, it is.
they put it out there to
They're counting.
count the cars.
Counting.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
oh, okay, yeah. There's probably a car with somebody sitting there.
No, it was
No,
the
was it
box,
just a box?
two
Okay.
lines from across.
All right, so we'll move on to ARPA. The first payment of the ARPA funds is received. That's also in your packet. There's 64,000. Come here, Ice. $64,854.06. There'll be another payment along, I don't know when, but the account has been established to put this money away, and all we can do right now is just sit on it until a project's developed. We have until 2004 to develop a project, and if we don't get it underway, then we have to return it by 2006.
Wait,
26.
we have till when?
26,
Say
excuse
those
me.
numbers
So
again.
you're going back.
2024
Good God. No, what it is
to spend it.
get it right. These ARPA funds were sent to, or will be sent to us, and we have until 2023 to submit a project, 2024 to start the project, 2026 to, if we haven't done anything with it, send it back. But the rules are still in development,
So we don't know what we can use it for.
Nope.
Still.
Like nothing, no. Oh, bad one.
All I've heard is COVID. So I'm not sure, I don't think anybody else is sure what that means. As time goes along and these funds aren't used up for that, they may broaden the scope of what we can use them for. But if we sit on them on an interest-bearing account, I know it's not much money, but at least we don't have to pay it back. And it's there, and there might be an emergency situation that we would be able to use it for. Just the normal course of a project that is grant funded is you write up the project. You have the entire thing spelled out, timetables, funding, parts, salaries, the whole bit. You submit it, it's worked on by the grant people. You get an approval, you start your project, then you get your money. This time, they just kind of went, here you go. And there's a 150-page pre-approved, pre-final, whatever they want to call it, document that tells you at least some of what you can do, but it's subject to change until it's finally agreed upon, so. We'll be lucky if we hear the answer to that.
Do you have it like in a hard copy of it? We can look at
Well, there is, yeah, I can send you a link to it,
Okay.
to the manual that they sent along with it, but I don't know how well that's gonna work out overall. If we did not accept the funds and we came up with a project we needed it for, we couldn't get them if we did not accept the funds in the first place, so. All right, purchasing policy. Move on to the next thing. There is a document that is 8 pages. And what this is Townshend did have a purchasing policy. It was worked on before. The problem is when we came to needing it, we couldn't find it. So, the leagues of cities and towns had a template. I took that template and modified it for Townshend. This is what was, this template that they gave us was what they considered fully researched and vetted by attorneys, written by attorneys by the leagues of cities and towns for the purposes of purchase and procurement. Why is that important? During an emergency such as this one, when you're asking for funds or coverage of something, they will say to you, well, follow your purchasing and procurement policy. So we needed to make decisions very quickly. So we got this thing together and made those decisions. This is what the league says will pass. And all we really need to do is make sure you understand it and sign off on it. Have you read this? I sent this out a couple of times, I think.
How much different is the new one compared to the old one? Totally different.
Because you haven't been able to find the old one?
Oh, it came up after we got this one moving. It was found, but it was written in 2014, and these things change every year. So this one was vetted to 2020 standards, 2021. I think it was 2020, wasn't it? Yeah, 2020. So it's the most up to date, and honestly, it covers everything.
What was so out of date about the old one?
I don't know. I didn't bother to read it. Once we move forward with this,
It just bothers me that we can't find these things when it's like we've got computers, we've got filing cabinets, we have all this stuff and we can't find it.
Right, I'm wondering where it's kept, like under
well,
what.
that's a good question. It did finally materialize. The treasurer did find it, but
I just know that when that was put out, people worked on it. And I mean, it's only been 7 years. Just doesn't seem like it would change that much.
yeah, it does. It changed every time. It changed every time the wind blows. And we would have had to have updated the old one and figured out which. Once we did have it, if we were going to stay with that, we would have had to figure out what was different from what is the accepted norm now to what the accepted norm was then. So rather than deal with that, it's like, this one tells us exactly what we need to do when we need to do it. Is it complete? I don't know. When I get 5 minutes, I'll read the other one thoroughly and see what matches and what doesn't match, and we can go from there. But right now, we've had to use this to get through this emergency. So I guess what we need to do is ratify this so that we can move forward. So, are there any questions about any of it?
Not really, I guess.
My only problem with it is that every time that we give anybody any sort of like 3 inches of rope, they take 3 miles in the first 5 minutes. Not saying that you are or whatever the situation will be, but it's like we got to think about the future too.
Yeah.
And it's like I don't wanna give somebody the ability to spend $150,000
There's-
in the blink of an eye.
Yeah, it talks about it right here, if you look
It
at
says
the
it, yeah,
purchasing authority and like who,
the step one, you know,
I read it,
yeah.
we already
that's
Yeah.
why
did.
I'm saying it.
The only purchasing authority that is really different and accelerated is the emergency clause, wherein you get at least two, vendors to submit a bid, and 2 members of the board can sign off of it. So in this particular case, Steve needed to move forward in getting material and people for East Hill. There wasn't any time really to wait, because if we put it off, they're gone. So in that type of situation, that's the only time that it doesn't come from the full board. And then the full board is reported to the full board in a review of the, whoever did it. So, at least 2 members have got to sign off on it, only under emergency circumstances. Now, we are just about out of emergency circumstance, because it still lingers.
You ever heard ant, turning a molehill into
Yeah.
a mountain?
Yeah.
And I mean, point being is that it leaves things open for, I think, excessive spending, so to speak, if it really needed to come down to it.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that that's gonna happen here in the next week, month, whatever, but I'm saying overall, down the road, it could happen, so.
Well, it's a
It says
possibility.
that budgets have to be authorized still.
And I just wouldn't have mind seeing the old
Yeah, but some
one too,
budgets
so
are
you
really
had 2
high.
of them to compare.
We found out that we were told about that at the last minute.
Which shouldn't be.
Yeah, and no, it shouldn't be. But here, our conundrum is we need to move forward for recovery. Policies are living documents. If you see something on this one that is totally objectionable, we can bring it back up at a different point and fix it. This is not something that is, no policy is set in stone. It can be changed at
Well,
any
obviously,
time.
we're changing one already.
Yeah, but I mean, you read through, I can get you that other copy now that it's actually been delivered.
It won't be worth it after tonight.
And, we can insert with the old one into the new one. This one's just the acceptable one from the leagues, the lawyers, so on.
Did you
Okay?
read it, Steve?
Yes,
What do you think?
yes.
Cool.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to accept the ratification of the new purchase and procurement policy for the town, effective today.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, is there any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. That's in the list of stuff to be signed. Next thing. Attached is the town hall and common rental agreement. and use permit.
Did this change?
No.
I didn't think so. I thought it
No,
said the new
the
one.
only thing that changed is it's not this way and on a piece of, somebody's photographed it and shipped it as a picture. And it also gives information.
It's shinier.
It also gives us information about who's doing it, who to contact, email and phone numbers that just weren't on the old one. The language of it is the same. It requires the insurance. It requires approval. One board member, it does say the chair, but on behalf of the board. But if I'm not here, whoever is authorized by the board to sign it can sign it. It also spells out if there's a denial, what the reason for the denial is and what the person would have to do to fix it. So it's making the thing more neat and presentable, but it's also adding information that we didn't have. So This has actually gone to the town clerk. So I'm just bringing this up as just so you're aware of it. We have not seen another request for use of the building or the town common since this has gone into effect.
I'm just wondering, I feel like the needing to bring personal insurance is stopping a lot of people from actually being able to use these spaces. And so I was wondering if I haven't talked to any other towns, but like a liability waiver form. So
Well,
there's-
no, because you can waive the liability for yourself, but the people that attend, you can't waive the liability for. By having an insurance policy that kind of keeps the town insulated, and there are insurance, certain single-use insurance products that are available that would cover something like this. You know, you don't have to put it on your personal insurance, but we ran into this problem with a group that wanted to use the common for theater production. And they flat out told us that they weren't going to get insurance. They had negotiated with another town somewhere, I don't remember exactly where it was, to sign a liability waiver, and that's fine, but everybody that attends that, and they get injured on town property, because being at that event, we're gonna hold the liability for it, and we can't. So that's what our insurance company has told us. I mean, this was pretty much drawn up by the insurance company.
And that's different than people just say playing frisbee on the common because it's advertised and people are invited to it.
Well, if they're making a public event, we don't stop people from doing recreation, but if it's a public event that people are invited to, then they have to get permission to use it. Just like this building, same thing. You know, they have to get permission to use it, and they have to be covered in case somebody gets hurt. So that's where the problem with their liability comes, with them not having the liability coverage.
I think it also comes down to, like, if you bring up a frisbee. If people are over there playing a pickup game of frisbee, that's non-predictable. If there's a league going on over there, set times, that's kind of predictable and would need liability insurance. And I'm pretty sure that when that was drawn up, there was, you know, other towns have the same type of policy for using their venues.
Most of it comes out of the league. Most all of the things come out of the leagues of cities and towns because they have attorneys that research all of these issues. And any member of the league is going to have these things. The last thing we want them to do is say, okay, you're a liability because you're doing things like this, and jack our insurance rates up. I mean, honestly, that is why we had to shut the town hall down, the public meetings during COVID, was not because we were going to end up with the state police coming in here and ticketing people or whatever, but the insurance company said to us, if you don't comply, you are criminally and civilly liable, and you would get higher insurance rates, and if somebody got sick, you know, you've got OSHA and OSHA standards, so it wasn't worth it. So that's kind of where this is at, or where it comes from.
Okay.
Okay? All right, any more on this? If
I
not,
wish that there was a way that we can write a separate one, like one that's open for the public. Like if somebody's hosting a program where the public's invited versus somebody playing music once and utilizing the space. Like there's somebody that tried to, you know, just use it with 2 people playing music for practice. Like certain things, like is it possible to have liability waivers utilized for small groups
I
versus like having the entire public here for a dance party?
think
know?
what Rob said kind of sums that up. If somebody's up there playing music, not intending to bring together a group, but just playing, nobody's going to bother them. If they're scheduling a concert, then then you've got a liability issue that we have to take care of. I mean, we had a gentleman that wanted to use this place to practice.
Mhm.
And it was gonna meet his band. He's an older gentleman and he wanted to use this place to practice. But because our hands are kind of tied with this insurance issue and he didn't want to go through all of that, there's really not much we can do. If we go ahead and do it and something happens, you know, we're holding the proverbial bag for it.
Mhm.
Okay? All right. So we got through the common rental form. Steve, Billy Smith Class 3 Road, there was an issue that came up about this. And you and I have talked about it, but the rest of the board and the public needs to be aware of the circumstance.
Do you have a copy of the email?
I don't.
I don't either. There's a gentleman who is building a home in Athens. The property is only accessible by Billy Smith Road here in Townshend. During the storm, a section of road got washed out. His contractors were not able to get to the house to do their work. He was under the assumption that that section of road was a Class 4 Townshend road. He went ahead and hired a contractor to make the repairs to the road and wanted to know who to send the bill to.
If you want to read it, it's there.
Hi, I live off of the Class 4 section of Billy Smith Road and had a washout that required immediate repairs due to my inability to get to and from home. I hired Danny Taylor, road foreman in Grafton, to do this emergency work on his personal time. I spoke with Steve at the town garage and understand the town is usually responsible for making these repairs. Since this was an emergency, I had no choice but to undertake the repairs myself, but I am hoping to get reimbursed for the work. Danny Taylor is happy to speak with you regarding what he had to do. His cell phone number is ... I looked on our V-Trans map, which is the Bible that I go by for mileage for each town road. Billy Smith is town highway number 56. It's a Class 3 road, 0.48 miles long. I rolled it out and it ends, 0.48 miles, ends right at Two Horse Farm, which is the last residence on Billy Smith. There is no Class 4 section on Billy Smith. So wherever his washout happened, that is not any part of Townsend's responsibility. Now, someone's going to have to communicate that to him. If you would like me to do that, I will.
Please, you understand it better than anybody. If you need it in writing, we can certainly send him a letter without a problem. Just send what you want me to say and I'll get it put on stationery and mail.
What's the difference between a 3 and a 4?
So a 3 is maintained year-round. Dirt road, maintained year-round. A Class 4 is more of a Jeep road. It could be called an ancient road. A lot of Class 4 roads have been dropped off over years. We do have maybe 5 roads that have a short section of Class 4 on them. Oberhill is one, has a very short section. It goes from Class 3 to Class 4. Jordan Hill's another one, Class 4 from Acton Hill over to Back Windham Road.
Mm-hmm.
But the only thing that we have to do to a Class 4 town road, according to our road and bridge standards, is once a year I inspect them. I maintain water bars and I repair washouts of more than 12 inches deep. That's all we do with Class 4 roads. Billy Smith does not have any portion of it that's Class 4.
Any other questions? Okay, I have a comment about this. Anybody that has damage to their roads, do not, under any circumstances, just repair them like this. Now, granted, this wasn't in town, but if you do, you may be holding the bag for the payment that you put out. We have standards from the state, from the federal government, on what we can purchase, what we can maintain, what we can fix, and how much money they'll give us for us. So anybody that has that problem needs to contact the highway garage and get Steve involved in it right away. Do not do it on your own unless you want to end up with the bill completely. There's just, we have standards that we have to maintain, and if we have to go in there afterwards and redo whatever was fixed, you know, there's the bill for getting it fixed, and then there's going to be a bill for what happens later. So just get in touch with Steve at the highway department and make sure what you're doing is right. Okay, that's the end of that. Now, the last thing I have before executive session is I received today a letter from Rescue. Their contract is up for renewal this year. I think it wasn't a rescue, it was an email. I think I put the thing inside the package. But basically, there's going to be a meeting on oh, thank you. Can't find my own stuff that I put together. Meeting's going to take place at 6:30 on September 16th. There'll be an RSVP coming. I intend to go to that because there's going to be some significant changes from what I understand, and it's going to affect our funding of rescue, these changes. So anybody that wishes to go, just let me know and I'll get you the place, because they haven't figured out the place yet. Okay? And the last thing I have is an executive session, and I would entertain a motion to go into executive session under 1 VSA 313B personnel
The
issue.
letter
So moved.
with
Is there a
the
second?
letterhead and everything.
Moved
Yeah.
and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
One thing I forgot to mention, we have a contract for from Guy NATO, who provides fuel services to the town hall and is willing to take on the fuel services from the fire department. This is number 2 fuel oil. He's given us a rate of 2.509 cents per gallon to take over both of them.
What are the current rates?
Well, the current rate is here, it went up a little bit from here, from last year. The problem is the fire department was on yet another service provider that charged over $1 more a gallon for the same product. So, I mean, they use 1,500 gallons, you just kind of might as well have taken $1,500 and go burned it in front of the place. It didn't make a lot of sense. So what this will do is allow us to combine to one place to get the fuel service from, instead of 2, and he's basically.
What did we pay last year? Here.
You would ask that, I don't have that.
Carl.
I think it was like 240, something like that, because the other one was a full $1 higher, and this one's only $2.50.
And this is fixed?
This is fixed.
Just seems like a lot for fuel, but, I mean, not in the middle of the winter time.
This is, this was actually better, like I said, than the other one.
What was the other one?
It was a full $1 more than the town hall was last year, so like 346, 348, something like that. And the other one won't give you a fixed price or fixed rate, it's whatever it is at the moment when they fill you up. So this one here is a confirmed contract throughout the heating season. Any other questions? I'd entertain a motion to accept the bulk fuel agreement between the town of Townsend and Guy Nito from Wilmington Fuel Service.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. Opposed and or abstentions? Okay, so we'll sign off on that. I think that one's not a problem. Okay, that's it. Now we'll go into executive session. Thank you.